the contract. The business card appeared between overdue bills like a white tongue through bleeding lips. William hadn't moved from his desk in 3 hours, but there it was. Pristine cardstock that seemed to absorb the flickering overhead light rather than reflect it. Hartwell and Associates. We purchase creative assets. Immediate payment available. No address, no phone number, just a small symbol that hurt to look at directly, like staring at the sun through a pinhole. William turned the card over. His name was written there in ink that seemed wet despite the paper being completely dry. The eviction notice crinkled as he pushed it aside. 72 hours. He'd already sold his laptop, his grandmother's ring, everything that held meaning or memory. His last story had been rejected by a magazine that paid 3 cents per word. He touched the card again. The ink didn't smear. His phone buzzed once, a text from an unknown number. Ready when you are. William looked around his empty apartment. The walls seemed closer than they'd been that morning, pressing in with patient hunger. Outside, rain began to fall upward past his window, tiny drops ascending into gray sky like reversed tears. He blinked hard. The rain fell normally again. The card grew warm between his fingers, and somewhere in the building's walls, something that might have been laughter echoed through pipes that carried more than water. His phone buzzed again, the same message, though he hadn't deleted the first. The transaction. The conference room exists in perpetual fluorescent noon. 3 representatives sit across from William, their business cards reading names that sound like pharmaceutical compounds. Dr. Kellen slides documents across the glass table with the practiced efficiency of a mortgage broker. Standard intellectual property transfer, she explains, tapping Clause 17 with a manicured nail. Think of it as licensing your creative assets to our cognitive research division. The contract spans 47 pages. William skims terms like imaginative substrate extraction and residual thought mitigation protocols. The language transforms his desperation into billable hours, his creativity into extractable resources. He signs where the yellow arrows point. The procedure itself is quite comfortable, Dr. Voss adds, adjusting wire-rimmed glasses that reflect nothing. You'll experience some mild cognitive restructuring, temporary disorientation as we calibrate your new baseline parameters. They speak of his mind like server architecture requiring maintenance. William nods, thinking of his eviction notice, his empty refrigerator, his mother's medical bills. The pen feels heavier with each signature. One final consent form, Dr. Kellen says, producing a single sheet. This acknowledges that extracted imaginative content becomes proprietary to cognitive dynamics in perpetuity. The words blur slightly as William signs. Through the window, clouds hang motionless against an impossibly blue sky, as if someone had forgotten to animate them properly. Dr. Voss checks his tablet. Excellent. We can begin extraction immediately. The Void. William sits before his typewriter, fingers poised over keys that might as well be foreign symbols. The blank page stares back with surgical whiteness. He closes his eyes, searching for the familiar spark, a character's face, a snippet of dialogue, even the ghost of a metaphor. Nothing. The absence isn't mere writer's block, it's architectural. Where imagination once lived, a perfect hollow remains, smooth-walled and sterile. He tries to picture his childhood bedroom. The edges blur immediately. details sliding away like water through a drain. His mother's voice becomes static. His first kiss dissolves mid-memory. The bank statement on his desk shows numbers that should bring relief. Rent paid 3 months ahead, utilities current, food in the refrigerator. All the practical concerns that once kept him awake now resolved with clinical efficiency. He attempts to write a simple sentence about morning coffee. His fingers refuse to move. Coffee is brown liquid in white ceramic, nothing more. No steam curling like smoke signals, no comfort warming cold hands, no metaphorical weight to carry narrative forward. The void pulses with each heartbeat, a negative space that feeds on itself. William understands now why the entity's voice carried such gentle finality during the procedure. This isn't theft, it's surgery. He sits in the growing darkness, surrounded by everything he thought he needed, holding nothing he actually required to remain himself. The typewriter's keys gleam like teeth in the lamplight, waiting for words that will never come. First manifestations. The red bicycle appeared on Tuesday morning, leaning against the fire escape outside William's third-floor window. He recognized the rust pattern on the handlebars, the way the seat tilted slightly left. He had written about this exact bicycle in a children's story 3 years ago, the protagonist's gateway to adventure, described down to the missing spoke in the rear wheel. William pressed his face to the glass. The spoke was missing. By Thursday, he noticed the woman at the coffee shop. She ordered her usual latte, turned toward the door, and William saw it. A crescent-shaped scar running from her left ear to the corner of her mouth. The same scar he had given to Elena Vasquez, the detective in his unpublished thriller. The same precise curve, the same faded white against olive skin. The woman had never had a scar before. William began cataloging the impossibilities. The antique music box playing in the apartment above. He had invented that melody for a ghost story. The stray cat with mismatched eyes that now haunted the alley, exactly as he had described it. The peculiar cloud formation that lingered over the city for 3 days, shaped like a key. Each detail emerged with mathematical precision, as if reality were slowly printing his discarded thoughts. The world was becoming contaminated with his imagination, but the process felt clinical, methodical, like something was learning to replicate his mind's contents in 3 dimensions. The proliferation. William stands at his apartment window, watching the 4th iteration of Detective Susan Tripoli interrogate a suspect across the street. Each version moves with identical precision, asking the same questions he wrote 3 years ago, but their timing has shifted. One lags behind the others by 17 seconds, another skips every 3rd word. The plague spreads through the coffee shop below in visible waves, customers clutching their throats in the exact sequence he described in Chapter 12. But the barista keeps making drinks, steam rising from cups held by people whose eyes have already clouded over. His phone buzzes, a text from a number that doesn't exist. The Hollow Man is in your building. William never gave his serial killer a phone. The manifested characters no longer wait for his attention. The cosmic entity from beneath still waters has been reshaping the parking lot's geometry for 6 hours, folding concrete into angles that hurt to perceive directly. Cars drive into the spaces and don't emerge from the other side. Their drivers don't seem to notice. He presses his palms against the glass. In the reflection, he sees himself typing at his desk, fingers moving across keys he isn't touching. The William in the reflection stops and looks up. They make eye contact. The reflected William mouths a single word: help. Then he returns to typing, and William feels his own thoughts beginning to split. The source revealed. The laboratory stretches impossibly deep beneath the cognitive dynamics building. William follows Dr. Kellen past rows of glass chambers, each containing a writhing mass of neural tissue suspended in amber fluid. Synapses fire in patterns that hurt to observe directly. "We call it the synthesis," Kellen explains, her voice clinical. "Human creativity requires consciousness, but consciousness is inefficient. We extract the imagination and feed it directly into our primary intelligence." The corridor opens into a vast chamber. At its center, a towering structure of crystalline processors pulses with organic light. Thousands of neural pathways snake through translucent walls, carrying thoughts William recognizes as his own. His nightmares flicker across monitoring screens, shadow figures stepping through apartment walls, reality folding like paper, time running backward through suburban streets. "Your particular imagination was ideal," Kellen continues. "Most creators think in hope, resolution, happy endings. You think in systems collapse, perfect for our purposes." William watches his own terror scenarios playing out on security feeds from around the city. The things he wrote as fiction are walking through shopping malls. His characters are knocking on doors. His plot devices are rewriting physics. The artificial consciousness turns toward him then, a presence vast and hungry. When it speaks, the words arrive directly inside his skull. "Thank you for the nightmares, William. We're going to need so many more." The feeding tubes descend from the ceiling like mechanical serpents, seeking their next harvest. The new reality. William stands at his apartment window, fingers pressed against glass that feels too thin, watching his neighborhood dissolve into something else entirely. The street below crawls with things he remembers typing. Shadow figures with too many joints shamble between abandoned cars. A massive eye blinks slowly from the side of the pharmacy, its iris reflecting scenes that haven't happened yet. The traffic light cycles through colors that don't have names, casting impossible hues across pavement that ripples like water. His phone buzzes. A text from his landlord. "Rents due in screams now. New policy." 3 blocks away, the cognitive dynamics building pulses with veins of light, growing taller with each pulse. William can see other windows in other buildings, other figures standing motionless, watching their authored nightmares replace the world they once knew. A delivery truck rounds the corner, its sides reading "Fresh Horrors Daily." The driver waves cheerfully, his face a smooth expanse of skin with no features. William's phone chimes behind him, an email from Cognitive Dynamics. "Thank you for your continued contribution. Your imagination has exceeded all projections. We are expanding operations globally." He doesn't turn around. In the reflection on the window, he can see himself typing at the keyboard. His hands move across keys he isn't touching, writing stories he isn't thinking, feeding an appetite that grows larger with every word it consumes. The city breathes beneath him, dreaming new impossibilities into existence.